The men's ice hockey team made the trip up north to Maine to face off against the Maine Black Bears. How did they fare in the weekend series?
Also, the men's and women's basketball preseason awards have been announced. Did the Bobcats take home any honors?
Plus, the latest news in soccer, field hockey, and volleyball. All this and more on Sports Paws, which starts right now. Welcome to Studio 125 for another edition of Sports Paws. I'm Dylan Summer, and alongside me is the newest Sports Paws associate producer, James Blano. James, welcome to the desk for the first time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dylan. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to discuss everything Quinnipiac sports.
Well, we're going to get started right away with Game 1 of the Quinnipiac Maine weekend series for men's ice hockey. This one would turn out to be a shocker as Maine would come out with a 4-0 victory over the number 3 ranked Bobcats. The Black Bears scored all 4 goals in the third period, and one came on the power play. Even former Quinnipiac Bobcat Matthew Fawcett got in the mix, scoring Maine's third goal on the day. The Black Bears ended up only outshooting the Bobcats, but by one, they had 34 while Quinnipiac had 33. Ethan DeYoung also had 6 shots on net, which was the most of any Bobcat this season. After a surprising loss in Game 1, could the Bobcats bounce back in Game 2? Let's roll the highlight. Quinnipiac and Maine as we're going to get ready for Game 2. It's Yanni Peretz looking to rebound, giving up 4 goals against the Black Bears in Game 1. We're about to find out if he could recover from that. On to the first period, about 5 minutes into the game. Bobcats are on the power play. It's Jacob Nordquist who's going to bring it around the boards to Michael Lombardi. He's going to sauce it to Desi Burgart, and Burgart's going to light the lamp to give the Bobcats the early lead. They'll lead 1-0. Great play all around. About a minute later, Black Bears not giving up as Ben Poison's shot hits off the stick of Brandon Holt. That puck's going to find the back of the net to tie the game at 1. Moving on to the second period, it's time for some Skylar Brindamore as he's just 45 seconds, scores the second, scores on a breakaway chance to regain the lead, 2-1 Bobcats. Now in the middle stages of the second period, it's TJ Friedman who's going to complete a no-look pass to Jacob Quillen, who's going to execute the breakaway perfectly. Quinnipiac now leads 4-1. Moving on to the third period, it's Christoph Filion who's going to move the puck over to Jaden Lee for yet another breakaway chance to further this lead, and the Bobcats will get their revenge, winning by a final score of 6-2. After a strong performance on Sunday, a Bobcat was named for his first weekly defensive honor. And that Bobcat was no other than senior defenseman Jaden Lee. Lee earned the honor of the ECAC Hockey Defenseman of the Week after a multi-point game. He assisted on Skylar Brindamore's goal in the second period and added a goal of his own later in the third period. This goes down as Lee's second career weekly honor as he was tabbed as Rookie of the Week last year in December. With the Bobcats splitting the series with the Maine Black Bears, let's see where they stand in the USCHO poll. Quinnipiac ended up falling down to 4 spots after the first game in Maine was enough to push them down to 7. However, the Bobcats were not the only team to take a tumble as Minnesota State Mavericks followed suit, falling from 2 to 8. Minnesota retained its top spot, while St. Cloud climbs up from number 8 to number 2. Rounding out the top 5 is Denver, Michigan, and Massachusetts.
Moving into women's ice hockey, a former Quinnipiac women's ice hockey star has just become the next Bobcat in the PHF. Taylor House, a former forward for the Bobcats, has just landed a deal with the Boston Pride, joining fellow Bobcat and teammate Corrine Schroeder in the Pride's campaign towards another Isabel Cup. In 155 games, House put up 45 goals and 33 assists for 78 points in her career at Quinnipiac. The Pride look to three-peat the Isabel Cup this year, following 2 championship wins against the Minnesota Whitecaps and the Connecticut Whale. Let's take a look at this week's USCHO women's ice hockey rankings and how the teams stack up. Coming in at number 1, receiving all the first place votes, is Ohio State, followed by Minnesota in second. Wisconsin and Colgate each jumped up 2 spots to earn 3rd and 4th, with Northeastern dropping 3 for 5th. Quinnipiac stays at number 7 after a week with no games, and the bottom is rounded out by Cornell, who jumps Yale for number 8. Quinnipiac has been in the same spot in these rankings for quite some time as they look to move up this weekend, starting ECAC play.
Basketball season is almost in session, and the women's basketball MAAC preseason poll is officially dropped. Quinnipiac takes the cake at the top spot, receiving 117 points and 8 first-place votes. Falling closely behind is Manhattan Jaspers, the team that knocked out the Bobcats out of the playoffs last season. Manhattan received 112 points and 3 first-place votes. Niagara, Fairfield, and Iona claimed the last 3 spots in the top 5, while Marist and Ryder tied for 6th place on the poll, and Canisius and Siena tied for 9th place on the poll. With Quinnipiac already tabbed as the preseason favorites, 3 Bobcats made the All-MAAC rosters. Mackenzie DeWeese and Michaela Morris were named to the All-MAAC first team, while Rose Cavalry made All-MAAC third team. Last season, DeWeese became the 6th player in program history to earn all-conference first team honors twice in their career. She returns for her 5th year with the team after ending last season in the top 10 for points. Michaela Morris joins DeWeese as the first team after being 2nd overall rebounder in the conference with 315. Lastly, Rose Cavalry makes the 3rd team for leading the team in assists per game last season. In addition to being named to the All-MAAC first team, Mackenzie DeWeese received another prestigious honor. The graduate student guard was named to the preseason watch list for the 2023 Becky Hammond Mid-Major Player of the Year. The Becky Hammond Award was first awarded in 2020 to South Dakota's Sierra Duffy, being named the inaugural winner. Florida Gulf Coast Kirsten Bell won the award in both 2021 and 2022. The preseason watch list ranges from representatives from 25 schools in 13 different conferences. DeWeese is the only representative from the MAAC.
Staying on the court, let's jump into men's basketball MAAC preseason rankings. At number 1, to no surprise, are Rick Pitino's Iona Gales, followed by another no surprise entrant in the Manhattan Jaspers. At 3rd, we have the Ryder Bronx. At 4th are the Quinnipiac Bobcats, and at 5th, the Fairfield Stags. Rounding out the bottom are Siena Saints in 6th, Marist Red Foxes at 7th, and with a big drop from their magical tournament run, the reigning champion St. Peter's Peacocks at 8th. The Bobcats will look to build this year after winning some big games in last year's conference tournament. Let's see who made the cut for this upcoming season's All-MAAC men's basketball preseason honors. Earning first team All-MAAC honors is senior point guard Matt Belanc, following up a career season of averaging 14.6 points per game, 61 threes, and 91 rebounds. Third team All-MAAC honors also went to junior guard Desi Jones, who also had a career year averaging 11.5 points per game, 94 assists, and 35 steals. The Bobcats look to dethrone MAAC champion St. Peter's following their magical tournament run last season and hope to find some similar success.
To help us get ready for the upcoming MAAC basketball season, basketball analysts Keith Savage and Keenan Mills have the stats and stories to look out for our new segment, Bobcats by the Numbers.
Let's get to the very first Bobcats by the number. I'm Keith Savage alongside Keenan Mills. We're going to get right into the men's basketball side. My magic number for this first one is going to be the number 4. Number 4 for a reason. That's the MAAC men's basketball MAAC rankings in the coaches' preseason poll. That's what they're going to do. This team is talented. A lot of people transferred out from all the conferences in Iona, Manhattan, Quinnipiac, Ryder, and Fairfield. My 5 main teams that can compete in this conference. I think Matt Belanc is going to be a big-time player. He got on the first team coaches preseason All-MAAC team, and Desi Jones, great all-around third-team guard. But my next number is going to be 4 again, because they lost 4 players in the transfer portals, but guess what? They also gained 4. But there's a lot of great guys. But my favorite guy who I have to point out is Ike Nowicki, who is going to be a star for this Bobcats team for his scoring. He averaged around 17 points last year at Columbia. He's going to be the big man. He's probably going to play more of a power forward. The next guy I talk about is going to be the center for this team. But overall, he's a great guy who's going to be a big-time scorer who's going to have to fit in with Baker Dunleavy's team if they want to win the game. My very last number is 1.8. It's Paul Antonio. He's going to be the center for this team. He went to JUCO last year at Kilgore College, where he was solid, but his main thing is blocks. That's what this team needs. Kevin Marfa wasn't the greatest shot blocker last year. 2 years ago they had some 7-footer Seth Pickney. But this team is good. Paul Antonio, if he gets some minutes at the center spot, he's going to be big time. And the Bobcats need this help because Baker Dunleavy could be in the hot seat. But now, Keenan, what do you have for the women's side?
Keith, you had some great numbers, but there's no better number than one. Mackenzie Deweese, Michaela Morris both made first-team all-selections. Deweese coming off the selection to the first team last year. She had 106 steals, which was 4th in the nation, in the country. Morris was the 2nd best rebounder in the conference last year, the most amount of blocks in the conference, but also a big name, Rose Caverly. She was selected to the 3rd team in the conference. This team lost in the semifinals against Manhattan, but a solid 1-2 in Caverly in the starting lineup. Caverly doesn't turn the ball over, and she led the team in assists last year. This is going to be a good squad. But another number, 48.7. Courtier Haywood, she's a sleeper for me. I think she's going to have a great season. She shot 48.7% from the field last year, which was 3rd in the MAAC. She is a name that doesn't come up a lot when you think about this team, but she's entering her senior season. She had a career high in points last year, looking to make a better one this year. The big three in this lineup aren't going to score all the points. They need to go to Haywood if they need some scoring and to win some games. My last number, 3. That was the regular season point differential between Manhattan and Quinnipiac. Manhattan come in with 112 votes in the preseason poll. Quinnipiac with 117. These two teams are 1 and 2 in the conference. Manhattan is the competition of this Quinnipiac team when it comes to tournament time. Last year, Manhattan beat the Bobcats in the semifinals. They lost overtime in the regular season. They split it up. Well, that's all for us here for basketball. We'll send it right back to you guys.
Thanks, Keith and Keenan. Now that we covered all the winter sports, it's time to see what the fall season has in store. Coming up, we'll break down the men's and women's soccer matches against Manhattan and St. Peter's and the field hockey team playing spoiler at home. All that and more after the break.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies. Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
Welcome back to Sports Paws. Thanks for sticking with us. Men's soccer traveled to Manhattan to face the first place Jaspers on Wednesday. Could the Bobcats pull off the upset and secure the 3 points? Bobcats would end up only securing 1 point from this contest. The game would end in a scoreless draw. It was a defensive battle all around as Quinnipiac only had 1 shot on target out of the 9 that they took, and Manhattan only had 2 shots out of the 8. Bobcat goalkeeper Carl Netzel had 2 saves on the day, while Jasper keeper Danny DeMarco had 1. It was also a very physical game as Quinnipiac committed 10 fouls, Manhattan committed 14 throughout the game. With the tie to Manhattan, Quinnipiac returned to Hamden on Saturday to take on the St. Peter's Peacocks. Let's roll the tape. Quinnipiac and St. Peter's back at home in Hamden. Quinnipiac's starting 11 are getting focused to take on St. Peter's in an inter-MAAC match on Saturday. Starting in the first half, first 10 minutes into this game, a free kick opportunity from Jared Smith, and that's going to find Sander Stanstrud, and he's going to head it in for the first goal of the game and his first goal of the season with that. 10 minutes later, Noah Silverman driving down the right side of the field, passes it to David Bercedo, who's surrounded by 4 Peacocks, but it doesn't matter. He still scores his 10th of the year now to match his number on his jersey, 2-0 Bobcats. 12 minutes later, it's Silverman again with a long shot attempt, but Bedenez Mecho stops the initial shot. However, he's not ready for the rebound by Ramesh Delsu, who's right there to get it. 2 assists on the day for Silverman in just the first half. 3-0 Bobcats. Moving on to the second half, and we're going to go late into the second half at that. Ryan Lim's going to find Drew Seguro wide open, and he's going to have a breakaway chance. Can he go ahead and extend the lead to 4? And yes, he does. 4-0 Quinnipiac, and that would be the final score of this contest. Quinnipiac holds on to that 4-0 victory. With the win, where does it put the Bobcats in the MAAC standings? Quinnipiac has moved up to second in the conference after its 4-1 victory over St. Peter's, and now they're 4-1-2 in the MAAC and 9-3-3 overall. Meanwhile, Manhattan maintains their first place spot, defeating Canisius on Saturday with a 5-1-2 conference record, and with their only loss coming at the hands of Iona. Speaking of Iona, they now sit in the 3 spot with 3-0-4 record in the MAAC and a 4-3-5 overall record. Fairfield, Siena round up the top 5, while Niagara and Mount St. Mary's and Marist are still in the race at 6, 7, and 8. The men's soccer team's rookies have stood out so far. Alexander Sterngard notching a few MAAC Rookie of the Week awards, but now it's time for the goalkeeper's turn. Carl Netzel stepped up big for the Bobcats last week as he was recognized for his efforts. The Sweden native recorded a pair of shutouts, one against the first place Manhattan Jaspers and one at home against St. Peter's. He made 2 saves in the Manhattan game and 6 in the St. Peter's game. And overall, he had faced 18 shots in 180 minutes of action. Netzel is up to 4 clean sheets on the year, and the Bobcats have shut out their opponents 6 separate times. Moving over from men's to women's, the women's soccer team took on Manhattan at home last Wednesday. Cue the highlight. Quinnipiac faces off against Manhattan, trying to bounce back from their 1-0 loss against Iona, which was their first loss in MAAC play. As we've been talking out throughout the entire season, the Bobcats are looking to fill the void of the top team in the MAAC after the powerhouse Monmouth Hawks left the conference. Right into the first half, as we're going to jump in early here, not even into the second minute of the game. Markela Baileri on the corner kick, puts it right in front. Kayla Magachos is going to go ahead and assist it to captain Olivia Scott. That ball just creeps right over the line. It's still going to count for the goal. It'll go down as her first of the year. Big goal from Olivia Scott, but we'll see virtually the same play now. Markela Baileri on the corner kick finds Courtney Chokol, who's going to find Scott again for her second goal of the game and her second goal of the season. Quinnipiac leads 2-0. I'm struggling to keep up here, but here's Molly Andrews now. Another goal. Bobcats taking charge with a 3-0 lead. And I mean, this is just an icing on the cake. One more. It's now Ella Gagnow who's going to score her 3rd goal of the year, as Cook is going to go ahead and pass it right to her foot, and she'll go ahead and send it right into that back corner. Quinnipiac will end up winning this one 5-1 when it's all said and done.
The women's soccer team looks to stay hot as they went up against the St. Peter's Peacocks this past Saturday in New Jersey. The Bobcats took down the Peacocks on the road in the 2-0 victory, led by goals from Markela Baileri and Kayla Mangachos. And Rebecca Cook stays as hot as ever, recording an assist on the Mangachos goal. Sofia Lospinoso posted another shutout, her 6th of the year so far. Quinnipiac takes on Mount St. Mary's next Wednesday, their final regular season game before the MAAC tournament on next Sunday the 13th. Let's take a look at the latest MAAC women's soccer standings from this past week. The Bobcats are once again atop the table in the MAAC as they hold an 8-1 record in first. Behind them are Fairfield with a record of 8-1 as well. Niagara sits with a record of 6-2-1 in the MAAC. Canisius is in fourth with a record of 3-2-5 in the conference. Ryder is currently in fifth, and to round out the top 8 are Iona, the Mount, and St. Peter's respectively. Bobcats will look to round out the season as a top-tier team in the MAAC. Let's move on as the field hockey team went up against Villanova on the road this past Friday. Let's break it down. Villanova took a tight win by a final score of 4-3 despite Stella Titmeyer's 2-goal performance. Amanda Middleman opened the scoring with 2 consecutive goals, followed by a third Wildcats goal, and the Bobcats answered with 3 of their own. But Villanova shut the door late in an ever-important Big East win. Villanova goalie posted 3 saves on 6 shots in a full game performance. The Bobcats look to rebound against nationally ranked Penn on Saturday's Senior Day. Let's roll the tape. Senior Day for Quinnipiac field hockey as they face the number 24 Penn Quakers as the seniors line up with their family, each receiving a framed jersey with their number on it. Such a great ceremony. Let's break it down the first quarter. Getting underway, the Bobcats and Quakers trade chances, but Christina Torres denies Livia Luzin. 0-0. Later in the quarter, Amelia Massarelli enters the circle, but Frederick Waller blocks the ball there. Into the second quarter here. The Quakers send a shot on net, but it just hits the post, and the game remains scoreless into halftime. Into the third quarter, Bobcats looking to score here. On the penalty corner, Stella Titmeyer whiffs the ball, and Eva Veldhorst knocks the rebound home. Senior tallies the first goal of the game. The Bobcats staying strong defensively into the fourth quarter, and this one would put it away. To nobody's surprise, Stella Titmeyer shot deflected by Massarelli in front, and that's another Bobcats goal. Keep it 2-0. Torres posts a 4-save shutout as Quinnipiac beats their second-ranked opponent of the season and their second-ranked shutout. After another weekend of Big East action, let's see what the standings look like. At the top of this week's Big East field hockey standings are the usual suspects: Liberty, Old Dominion, and UConn at 1, 2, and 3. The middle of the pack is led by Temple, followed by Villanova, Providence, Quinnipiac, and Georgetown from 4 through 8. 2 games remain this season for the Bobcats as they take on Providence and Sacred Heart this weekend on Friday and Sunday afternoon. Coming up after the break, we have volleyball, highlights and awards, top 5 plays, and a preview of this upcoming week. Keep it right here on Sports Paws.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a unique mix of all kinds of things.
Come on, Jules, spot on this last one. There it is.
Keep going with it. Leo! They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job. I need a new career.
Well, I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing.
After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working. I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this.
You will find something.
You will find something new.
maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made home ownership happen. Homeschooling yourself on loans, beefing up your credit score.
So I'm pre-approved.
You were like, yes! Sorry. Color coding listings, ticking boxes, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. Home sweet home. You aced house hunting. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Welcome back to Sports Paws, and thanks for sticking with us. Let's get into some volleyball news and highlights. Ariana Diaz, the senior outside hitter and a star for the Bobcats volleyball team, has just taken home MAAC Player of the Week. Over this past week, she has 50 kills, 23 digs, 9 service aces, and 4 assists. Diaz has also had her 8th double-double of the year against Siena this Wednesday, solidifying herself as one of Coach Kyle Robinson's best. Bobcats look to stay hot this week with the game against Fairfield at home. Quinnipiac took on Canisius this past weekend and absolutely steamrolled through them. So let's see how they did against Niagara this past weekend. To put it simply, they would dominate once again as they take down the Purple Eagles at their home ground 3-0. Senior outside hitter Ariana Diaz and graduate middle blocker Nicole Legg each had 6 kills and 6 blocks. The Bobcats also outperformed the Purple Eagles through the stat sheets. Quinnipiac had 11 aces compared to Niagara's 2, and the Bobcats had 32 kills to the Purple Eagles' 27. As Quinnipiac takes a huge win in Niagara.
On the midst of a 4-game winning streak, let's take a look if the Bobcats made any movement in the standings. Bobcats fall near the middle at 6th place in the conference. They have a 6-7 record in the MAAC, 7-13 overall record. The Fairfield Stags remain up top with the best record of 11-1 and a 17-6 overall record. Siena, Iona, and Marist all fall close behind, while Canisius, Ryder, and Niagara finish out the top 8. The Siena Saints are among the hottest teams in the conference right now, nearly doubling the winning streak, to say the least. After another exciting week of Quinnipiac sports, it's time for everyone's favorite segment in Top 5. I'll start it off, and you can take it from there, James.
Let's do it.
It's top 5 plays in the week, and let's get this one right started with play number 5 on the volleyball court. It's Alexandra Tenen who's going to spike it, gets stopped, but Georgia Jonji and Lexi Morris are going to clean it up as they spike it down.
Play number 4, we head over to field hockey. Stella Titmeyer shoots it. Amelia Massarelli finishes it and scores the second goal of the game as Quinnipiac would win 2-0.
On to play number 3. It's Noah Silverman who's going to take a shot from deep, but it's Ramesh Del Sioux that's going to come in here, score the rebound. Quinnipiac will win that one 4-0.
Onto the ice for play number 2, the second game against Maine. We see Maine have an opportunity to score, but Yanni Perret stops them right out in front. Shows why he's ECAC Player of the Week. Let's look at the replay as Perret absolutely slams the door on that Maine chance there.
And now for play number 1, we got some more men's ice hockey action as it's defender Jaden Lee who will get the pass from Christoph Filion. He's going to score here, and we're going to take another look quickly as Filion feeds it perfectly to Lee, and he finishes off for his first goal of the season. Now that we've caught you up to date with all the latest in Quinnipiac athletics, let's take a look at the sporting events this week. Women's soccer will go ahead and face Mount St. Mary's, as well as men's soccer, both on Wednesday. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have for tonight. To keep up to date with all things Quinnipiac sports, be sure to follow up on Twitter at Q30 Sports, and be sure to download the Q30 TV app, which is available for download on the App Store.
For everyone working hard behind the scenes and our incredible producing staff, I'm James Bueno.
And I'm Dylan Summer. Thank you for tuning in, and good night, Bobcats.